Hello, thank you for joining our presentation, Family-Centered Prevention Buffers the Effect of Financial Strain on Parenting, Reducing Youth Conduct Problems in African-American Families. I'm Justin Lavner from the University of Georgia. I wanted to thank my co-authors, Alan Barton, Olutosin Adesogan, and Stephen Beach. Also wanted to thank the collaborators at the UJ Center for Family Research, our participating families, and our funding sources. So to begin, we know that contextual stress undermines the well-being of African-American families. In particular, systemic racism has resulted in African-American families in the rural South having among the highest poverty rates in the country. In addition to their economic implications, these patterns have concerning implications for the well-being of families and the individuals in them. In particular, the family stress model argues that financial strain leads to a stress spillover cascade, in which we see increases in parents' psychological distress and relationship problems, decreased positive parenting practices, and ultimately decreases in children's functioning. We've seen this across numerous studies among different populations. One study in particular highlighted among African-American adolescents, researchers found that economic hardship was associated with youth conduct problems through increasing their caregivers' depression and relationship conflict, and decreasing nurture and involved parenting. So amidst continual structural disadvantage, preventive interventions can enhance family resilience. We designed the Protecting Strong African-American Families program, ProSAAF, for African-American families in the rural South, and it was designed to promote positive couple, parenting, and family interactions, and to prevent stress spillover from economic stress. Thus far, we've shown that ProSAAF can benefit youth in two different ways. First, ProSAAF improves couple and family functioning, indirectly benefiting youth. So to see this in the figure here, we see that ProSAAF affects couple functioning, which affects family functioning, which in turn affects youth outcomes. In addition, we have shown that ProSAAF's improvements in family functioning indirectly buffer youth from the effects of contextual strain. So here you see that ProSAAF increases family functioning, which in turn moderates the association between contextual stress and youth outcomes. A third way that we intended for ProSAAF to benefit youth was by buffering the effects of economic strain on family processes. So here you would see that, consistent with the family stress model, financial strain should affect family functioning, which in turn should affect youth outcomes. But here we're interested in whether ProSAAF could interrupt these linkages. And this would be what has been termed in the resilience literature a protective stabilizing effect, where given risk factor is no longer associated with an outcome in the presence of some other factor. Here we're testing the hypothesis that ProSAAF will moderate the negative association between financial strain and changes in protective parenting, in turn reducing the indirect effect between financial strain and changes in youth conduct problems. A little bit about our study design. This was 346 rural African-American families with an early adolescent child. See, 63% of the families were married. The mean ages there, and importantly, 51% had family incomes below 100% of the poverty level, and 68% of participating families had incomes below 150% of the poverty level. Families were randomly assigned to intervention or control conditions. They had in-home delivery by a trained facilitator, and both romantic partners and the target child participated. The intervention was given over 6 weeks plus 2 booster sessions, and here follow-up was conducted just over 9 months after wave 1. This chart shows the curriculum. Each session included a couple component for 60 minutes, a parenting and co-parenting component for 30 minutes, and a youth component for 15 minutes, and finally a family component for 15 minutes. And each session was organized around a stressor that African-American families in the rural South face. You can see those listed here. So these could be daily hassles and burdens, racism, financial concerns, as well as navigating extended families. For this particular study, the measures that we focused on were financial strain assessed at wave 1, reported on by youth. See, a sample item would be we have enough money to afford the kind of food we need. This is reverse scored, so that higher scores equal greater financial strain. And importantly, this measure was associated with parents' reports of household income. In addition, at waves 1 and 2, youth and both parents reported on protective parenting, and these were protective parenting practices among African-American families in the rural South. So things like the extent to which each parent asks about the child's activities, where they're going when out, discusses house rules, and reminds them of why they should be proud of being African American. These were averaged within a family such that higher scores equaled more protective interactions. And then finally looked at youth conduct problems of waves 1 and waves 2. These were 13 items assessing mild acts of delinquency over the last 6 months, like vandalism or getting into fights. We summed the number of acts that youths reported committing at least once, and higher scores equaled more conduct problems. Here we're testing a moderated mediation model where financial strain was affecting changes in protective parenting behavior, which in turn is associated with youth conduct problems. We tested this using the process macro and SPSS. What the results found was that we found evidence for significant moderated mediation. So here you see that there's a direct effect from financial strain to protective parenting behavior, direct effect from protective parenting behavior to youth conduct problems, as well as from financial strain to youth conduct problems, that the financial strain to protective parenting behavior link was moderated by ProSAAF. So just more detail on those results. What we found here was that there was a significant and negative association between financial strain to changes in protective parenting among the control group, which is consistent with what we'd expect from the family stress model. So here, higher levels of financial strain were associated with decreases in protective parenting among control group participants. But among the ProSAAF group, that association was no longer significant. Then turning to the conditional indirect effects from financial strain to changes in youth conduct problems through changes in protective parenting behavior. In the control group, this was significant and positive, indicating that financial strain led to an increase in youth conduct problems, partly through its decrease in protective parenting behavior. Whereas for the ProSAAF group, we no longer saw some significant indirect effect from financial strain to youth conduct problems through changes in protective parenting behavior. And the index of moderated mediation was significant, indicating that these conditional effects differed significantly. So overall, what these results show is that ProSAAF buffered the effect of financial strain on protective parenting, thus reducing youth conduct problems. We wanted to caveat these findings, noting, however, that the indirect effect was small and there remained a significant direct effect from financial strain to changes in youth conduct problems, indicating that changes in protective parenting were not the sole path by which financial strain was associated with youth conduct problems. We also wanted to underscore these findings do not suggest that the responsibility for managing financial strain should be that of Black families alone, or negate the need for policies that recognize systemic racism and reduce the racial gap it has created. Rather, these findings highlight protective stabilizing effects as a potential benefit of family-focused prevention programs. So here's showing that we no longer see significant effects of financial strain on protective parenting among families participating in this contextual stress-focused intervention, and hope that future intervention work should seek to achieve these types of effects in the face of other contextual stressors like racial discrimination and sexual stigma to mitigate their impact and promote family well-being. So with that, wanted to thank you for watching. If there's any other information I can provide, please don't hesitate to contact me at lavner@uga.edu. Thanks very much.